Greetings, salutations, and welcome to Sportslook, the sports television program for the High Plains of West Texas and eastern New Mexico. I'm your host, Doc Elder, and for tonight, we decided to borrow the title of Jimmy Carter's autobiography and ask, why not the best? So we're going to have one of the best track and field athletes, Colby Bagwell. We're going to have one of the best baseball players, Nick Ankerman. We're going to have a best of high school spotlight courtesy of Brandon and Ryan. I'll finish up with an overtime, but as always, I'll start out with an Eastern recap. An 11th place finish for the Greyhound men's rodeo squad at last weekend's Howard College Rodeo. Unfortunately, the girls did not have enough qualifiers to qualify for a team score. And the Greyhound softball team, after losing their first game last weekend to Western New Mexico, they swept the doubleheader on Saturday, keeping alive their hopes of going to Lone Star Conference postseason. They will have a really important series against Tarleton State this weekend. As a matter of fact, tomorrow is their senior day. Well, that has been an Eastern recap, so we'll clear the set and I'll bring in my first guest, Colby Bagwell from Track and Field, right now. Welcome back to Sportslook, and we bring to the set of Sportslook one of the bright lights of Eastern New Mexico University Track and Field, Colby Bagwell. And Colby, welcome to Sportslook.
Thank you guys for having me here today.
Colby, it actually turns out that I had the chance to meet you last April in a much different circumstance.
Yes, sir. I was honored by the Greyhound Club to receive a scholarship for them, and which was presented by you.
Indeed, one of those nice ceremonies, and actually we're going to be doing that again next Tuesday. Colby, where are you from originally, and what was the process that got you to Eastern?
Originally, I was from Clayton, New Mexico, just a little small town, and I was able to kind of shine out a little bit there and gain access to the Eastern program, and track is kind of what brought me here, along with a good academics program here as well.
As a professor, I like to hear that.
Yes, sir.
Well, Colby, when you were growing up in Clayton, was track and field your specialty, or did you play other sports?
I was actually a three-sport athlete, and when I was growing up in high school, I was always leaning more towards football. Unfortunately, I really didn't have the size for a football player, more of a track build, but I also played basketball as well.
What position did you play in football?
I was actually quarterback, and I also played all over the defense.
There you go. In terms of track and field, what events did you do in high school?
In high school, I was pole vault and hurdles mainly. I ran a lot of relays, kind of wherever they needed me at. So that's kind of where it led into the decathlon range, because I was more all over the place in high school, always doing 5 events at every meet. So that's kind of what led me into that direction.
What was your best jump in high school?
I jumped 13 feet 1 inches in high school.
Wow.
Yes,
that's for the size school of Clayton.
Yes, sir.
That probably made you pretty competitive in the state of New Mexico.
Yes, sir.
So who actually recruited you to come to Eastern?
I was in contact with Coleman. He was kind of the main guy that was behind it. But actually, I had the opportunity to come here at all because of a coach from a district rival, Coach Autry from Texaco High School. Was in contact with the head coach here, and he kind of put my name out there and got me involved in this program. So that kind of is what kind of pushed me more into this direction. And then Coach Coleman kind of took me under his wing and kind of advised me from there.
Well, I really like that story because Ryan Autry was one of my advisees here at Eastern.
Yes.
So, wow, that's a great story. Were there other schools you considered, or was Eastern pretty much the place you wanted to go?
Eastern pretty much was the front runner the whole time. I had some other schools in mind, but out of high school, I didn't have any offers on the table. I actually ended up walking on to Eastern, and then eventually earned a scholarship as I was here.
Was Coach Caholi still the head coach then?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. She was.
And what events did she have you do your first year?
I was straight, as soon as I got here, I went straight into the decathlon, which is 10 events in 2 days.
Yeah, of course, I think America, if they were not aware, Bruce Jenner back in the 1970s certainly made that sport one of the go-to events.
Yes.
And 10 events, and you got to be good at all of them.
Yeah, it's got to be kind of a good range of athletic ability to do all of that. Yes, sir.
What is your best event?
Oh, there's some that are up there on the top, but the one that I scored the most points in would probably be the 1500. It's probably not my favorite event to do, but it's kind of one of those that you just kind of have to put your heart out there and run as hard as you can, and that comes out to be one of my better events.
What's your second best?
I get a lot of points from pole vault and hurdles as well, kind of from
yeah.
what I've done in high school. Some of the sprints are up there as well. Kind of lacking the throwing a little bit. As you can tell, I'm not the biggest guy, but I make up it in some of the other areas.
What are you jumping on the collegiate level in the pole vault?
I've jumped about 14.3, pretty consistent right there at that time. Unfortunately, being a deck, you don't get to put as much time into individual events as you would like to, so you kind of have to give and choose which ones you want to do. But that's one that I've kind of progressed a little bit more into, and it's jumping pretty consistent about 14.3.
I was going to ask you what's your least favorite, but you already said that, so
Yeah.
we can just skip over that, and we can talk about the pleasant. When did you really recognize that you had potential as a decathlete?
You know, I came in just wanting an opportunity and not really sure what my potential was or where I could go with it. Kind of after that first time that I did the indoor heptathlon at a conference meet, I kind of realized that I could hang with some of these guys and maybe eventually be in the top of these guys' range. So I think my first competition was where I really thought that I could probably stick with these guys.
And of course, Coach Coley left, was replaced by Coach Cavalunas.
Yes.
And what was the process of meeting Coach Cavalunas like?
You know, it was pretty good. We came in pretty early, and I actually got a chance to sit down with him one-on-one, like one of the first days that he was there. And you know, we just had a good conversation with each other and where we wanted to take the program. It was a good input from both of us, and that's kind of just the transition that happened there.
I actually had the opportunity. I was part of the hiring committee that brought him, so I was an early believer in him, and I would imagine you joined me in saying he's probably lived up to expectations.
Yes, he's done very well for the program.
With the rest of your career, looking at the meets since your freshman year, is there one meet in particular it's like that has been your best performance to date?
I actually, last year at conference, if I was finally going into conference pretty healthy, almost 100%, and that's always a plus when you can do that with this long track season that we have. I actually ended up PRing in the decathlon at that meet, and due to some injuries and stuff, I was also able to run on the men's 4x1, and that race really stuck with me because it was a chance for me to run with some pretty awesome guys and do something that I would not normally be able to do.
It's interesting. I was a track and field athlete, not nearly in your capacity, but my friends who were sprinters, they might get a hamstring or a quad injury. For the distance runners, it was usually having something to do with shin splints,
Right,
and for my friends that were field events, it was usually something upper body.
Right.
Since you have to do a little bit of everything, what was the nagging injury for you?
I've actually had a lot of issues with my hamstrings. We do a lot of sprinting workouts and stuff like that, so I guess, I'm more sprinter-based than I am distance-based. The distance kind of just takes care of itself, but definitely hamstring injuries have been kind of my weak point.
And it's interesting, when you run, like, to use an example, the 1500, if you're a distance runner, you want to win that. I mean, you want to beat somebody, and so you have a strategy, but you're just trying to accumulate points.
Yes, and basically the faster you go, the more points you get, so it's kind of all you got left in that race. There's not really, that's the interesting thing about the decathlon. It's not exactly how well you place in each event. Like, of course, you're going to want to go out there and win every event, but it's over an overall score, and the better you do in every event, the more points you'll get. Looking
at the conference, who's going to be your most formidable competition?
Angelo has got some guys right now that are all sitting top in the conference, as well as Commerce, and there's some really talented multis. Actually, the LSU conference has got 6 of the top 7 guys in the nation right now for D2. So it's a very tough conference for the decathlon. So it's going to be a battle.
Well, the good news for you is you're going to get to compete in front of a home crowd.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
First time ever that Eastern New Mexico University will host the Lone Star Conference Track and Field Championships.
Yes, sir.
Of course, we've had a little bit of practice. We had a meet last year. We had a meet earlier this year.
Yes,
and I think we worked out a few bugs. I think we'll be ready to put on quite an extravaganza.
Yes, sir. I hope so. We had little bumps and stuff in the past 2 meets, but I think that's going to make us just little bit better for hosting this conference meet, which is truly an honor to be hosting that at Eastern New Mexico.
And so the meet is May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. When do you actually compete?
The first 2 days will be the decathlon. The first day of the meet, it's going to be just the decathletes, really, and some of the heptathletes maybe there as well. Then the second day, the morning's kind of ours, and then the afternoon is when you see all the other athletes start to come out. And then Saturday is basically just finals for everybody else, and we if we're not doing anything else, we'll have a little rest day that day. But usually, most of the decathletes in the conference all kind of have other events in the opens as well. So they do all in the decathlon, and then they may have 1 or 2 events in the opens as well.
Well, Colby, congratulations on the success you've had, and best of luck moving forward.
Thank you, sir.
All right, well, that is going to wrap up our first interview segment. So what we'll do is we'll clear the set and we'll queue up a best of high school spotlight courtesy of Brandon and Ryan right now.
Hello and welcome back to High School Spotlight. I'm Brennan Warren.
And I'm Ryan Schrader.
This week we had a couple scheduling issues and weren't able to catch a game, so we're going to do something just a little bit different.
We're going to show you all of the best plays from the best games we've been to this year, so let's take a look.
Aaliyah Austin inbounds to Taylor Rippey in the post. A nice turnaround fadeaway from her to get the bucket off the glass.
Kaylee Mitchell running the offense for the Jackettes. She gets it to Mandy Crisp at the elbow. She'll turn around and take one step and put the shot up, and it's nothing but net.
Clayton inbounding, gets it into the corner, passes it out to the wing, and McKinley Crisp, stepping back and fading away, hits the three right in the face of the defense.
Here, Tegan Delk gets the pass and drives it in. He kicks it out to Colton Ferguson. He'll try the driving kick, and he gets it out to Tice Delk, wide open for the 3-ball. Jorge Rangel bringing it down for the Panthers. He dumps it off to his teammate, who pulls up from 3, and he hits it.
Amaya Smith in the corner, dishes to Mackenzie Gibson, who dribbles over and gives it to Wisdom Anthony, who drops some knowledge on him with that 3-ball. The Wolverines inside, passes to the free throw line, kicks out to Dalton Thatcher behind the arc, he jacks it up, and it goes in.
Here's the Wolverines on the other end, swinging it around to the right side. Davallo spots Thatcher on the other side. He gets it over to him, and he'll spot up the 3 and sink it. Wolverine swinging it around again. It ends up with Thatcher. He's got it deep, and he'll pull up again and sink a deep 3. Gonna have to keep an eye out on him tonight.
Thatcher dribbling out, passes to the top of the key to Cole Rohrbach, who makes a skip pass. From the skip pass comes the touch pass, back to Thatcher, who pulls up way outside the arc and sinks it. Thatcher dribbling down, passes to Anders Nelson. Thatcher just slides down without the ball, gets it right back, and once again hits the 3-ball.
Thatcher bringing it down quick. He gets it over to Luke Phipps, but then gets it right back. He'll pull up and sink yet another deep 3. Someone better call 911 because this guy's on fire. Hobbs passing it around the arc, end up finding Mackenzie Gibson in the corner. She'll put up another 3-pointer for the Lady Eagles.
Gibson passes over to the wing, gets it right back, and steps up to hit the 3 right before time expires in the first quarter. Seems like she's heating up. Tristan Senna gets the ball outside the arc, drives in, jumps up following his momentum, and banks in the tough shot off the glass. Segura at the top of the key, passes over to Kane Burney, who splashes a 3 right after checking into the game. Velasquez gets it at the elbow, finds Fossum on the right wing, and she puts the 3 through the bottom of the net for the Chiefs. Aylin Kazi-Kurgan setting up the play up top. She has Velasquez open at the stripe, and she turns around and hits the mid-range jumper.
Lady Coyotes here. Celeste Jimenez dishes it over to Abigail Duran, who drives in, puts up a shot in traffic, and hits it. Jimenez again drives it in and brings the defender with her so she can kick it out to Duran for the wide open 3, and it's good.
The Demons run a natural pick play. Martinez sees an opening and hits it. He gets stopped by the basket but kicks it out to DeSaro, who's open in the corner as he hits the 3. Velasquez gets it at the elbow, finds Fossum on the right wing, and she puts the 3 through the bottom of the net for the Chiefs. Demons dribbling down, pivots out, and gives it to Cody Garcia. He squares up and bangs it from about 4 feet behind the arc.
Right here, the Colts pitcher is going to fire it in, and we're going to see a steal attempt from Tularosa. But the catcher, Martin Aon, sees him and guns him down at second. Great throw there from the junior. Wildcats at bat here. The batter gets a nice swing at it, sending it deep into center, just too high for the outfielder to grab. They'll send him to second, and the cutoff man can't quite get it there, so he'll be safe.
We got the pitcher up to bat, makes good contact, sending a low one into midfield. The defense does a good job of not making any errors and keeping Phipps from getting to second.
Griego again at bat for the Wolverines. He's going to knock one deep into right field over the head of both the outfielders. They scramble around for it, can't pick it up. They finally get it up and send it back to home, but they can't make the catch, bringing him in safe. After seeing the mishandle, Griego decides to try for third, and he'll come in safe. And here again, folks, is really the story of the game. Pitcher Luke Phipps striking out 2 batters to end the game and take home the win for Texaco. He ended this game with just 2 hits allowed, 1 run allowed, and he tallied 11 total strikeouts in just 7 innings.
Jaden Stevens steps up to the plate with a runner on second. He pops it up into midfield. 4 players go for it, all of them miss. One of them finally picks it up and tries to get it to home before Wyatt Arlett makes it home. Thanks for watching our Best of High School Spotlight.
Before we send it back to Doc, make sure you go and like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more updates, photos, and highlights.
Once again, I'm Brandon Warren.
And I'm Ryan Schrader.
And we'll see you next week.
Welcome back to Sportslook. Thanks to Brandon and Ryan for that Best of High School Spotlight. And now we bring to the set the pride of Lethbridge, Alberta, Canada, Nick Ankerman. And Nick, welcome to Sportslook.
Thank you.
Nick, what was the process that got you from the Great White North, as your country is called, to Portales, New Mexico?
Well, it was all Coach Gomez. He looked up, got a hold of my stats from back home, and then he gave my coach a call during one summer. Then that coach just pulled me in the office and he's like, "Hey, what do you think about going down to New Mexico the following year to continue playing college baseball?" And I was really, really excited about it.
In terms of the great scheme of things, there have been some great Canadian ball players. I think back to Ferguson Jenkins, who one of the best pitchers of all time. But usually a sport that's not maybe associated with Canada. How did you become a baseball player?
My older brother actually was playing baseball when he was growing up, so I was always at the field watching his games when I was younger and stuff, and always throwing the ball around, and then just from there it just clicked, and I've been in love with it ever since.
When you were growing up, were you a fan of the Blue Jays, or were you a fan of an American team?
I was a Blue Jays fan, but my number one team, though, is the Yankees. I was a big Yankees fan. I always liked New York and always wanted to go visit New York, but I'll always still cheer for the Blue Jays, though.
There you go. In terms of the Yankees, I think I might know the answer to this question already, but favorite player?
Derek Jeter.
Yeah, I had a feeling. And I'm laughing because I actually, in addition to doing Sportslook, I have the privilege of being the radio broadcaster for your ball games. I've seen you play, and I know that you're a very adept shortstop.
Yes,
so
sir, yeah.
I thought that'd be it.
Yeah.
Nick, in terms of the game, who were the big influences on you, helping you to become the ball player you became?
Just all my coaches back home, just always pushing us to go above and beyond this. It's not just kind of accepting for where you're at, but just always pushing yourself to keep getting better and keep getting in that extra work, and always just, playing 100%, giving it your all.
I once had the opportunity of asking the great Ted Williams a question, and I said, well, Ted, are there things that you can work on as an individual? And he looked at me for about 30 seconds and said, no. But I would imagine that living in Canada and a lot of the year you can't get out and play, you have to be able to work on skills on your own.
Yeah, especially because we always have snow around this time of the year and stuff, so we're always just in the indoors, getting as many swings and trying to get ground balls and just keep working out and just getting stronger. So when we do get those few months during the year to actually go out, we can capitalize on all those moments that we have.
With going from Canadian high school baseball to going to Division II college baseball in the United States, what was the biggest adjustment you had to make?
Biggest probably would just be speed-wise of the pitching and stuff. Like, we still see like some decent arms every once in a while, but like in this conference and stuff, all the teams have like the top arms that are always throwing as hard as they can and stuff. So that was probably the biggest adjustment, just the timing-wise on that.
You've had the privilege of playing for David Gomez. If you had to characterize his coaching style, what really is his strength as a coach?
He's very, very passionate about the game. He's always trying to push us to do our best, and then if we're struggling and stuff, he's always trying to encourage and try to find some way to motivate us to get back on the level that he knows that we're capable of doing.
Of course, last year was a dream season for Greyhound Baseball. First time you guys had made it to the playoffs in a decade. And it didn't look good for you guys playing against Angelo State as you were trailing in the ninth inning. But it seems to me there was somebody who got a pretty key base hit in that. Oh, well, that was you.
Sir, yeah.
So it had to be a thrill.
Yeah, it definitely was a thrill. And so just, I was just happy to come up big for the team and just to be able to put that tying run across, and then just giving myself the chance to be the winning run to take us to that second game.
And then, of course, you had played WT the next day. Came up a little bit short in that game, but just great strides. The problem was you had a lot of seniors on that team that graduated.
Yeah, there was a lot of seniors, so there was some big shoes to fill, definitely, because like our whole top of the lineup was all those big senior guys. So it's been tough this year trying to fill those spots, but we're finding guys here and there that have been able to step up for us.
Well, one guy that has certainly stepped up is a guy named Nick Ankerman, who hit 8 or 9 last year. You got leadoff this year.
Yes, sir.
What was the biggest adjustment going to leadoff?
Just always being aggressive, always trying to, because they're going to try to get you with that first pitch fastball, so I just want to try to be on time with that and try to get on right away and just give us that early chance to score runs.
If you were a scout and you were putting together a scouting report on Nick Ankerman, what do you think scouts would say about you as a ball player?
I would say something about like my speed. I'm very quick. I like to steal bases, so just to kind of watch him on the base pass. He's good, solid defensively and stuff, and has good swing. Hits with power every once in a while when he has to, but can get on base when needed.
Of course, when you speak of hitting with power, I remember a couple of weekends ago you put one over the fence, and that was not wind aided.
No, that was big because we knew that was their best pitcher, throwing like 92 to 95. So it was like, I don't want to miss that first pitch fastball, so I'm going to be ready for it. And I was lucky that I was able to get a hold of it.
Nick, over the years, who have been the teammates? Who were the teammates that kind of took you under their wing to begin with and showed you the ropes, and who have become your best friends now?
It would have been some of the guys that came here as well the same year that I was here. So like Andy and Alex De La Cruz from last year and stuff. I was playing both positions that they were playing, so I was always getting chances to talk with them. And also the coaches this year, Jesus and Garland, who I also played with, and they've stuck with us and have still been helping me out and giving me that extra work in that I needed.
And in terms of like the guy that you're trying to take under your wing now and pass on your words of wisdom, who you're trying to be the Jedi Master for?
There's a couple guys, a couple of the younger freshmen that are coming in, like Alex Kuhn and stuff, who are middle infielder guys, or like Javen. Like, they're all those middle infield guys that we're just trying to like work with, just kind of pass on what we've learned from playing on this field for years and everything, and what the league will be bringing them in the future.
And speaking of Alex, a very promising start to his year, and unfortunately suffered a kind of bad injury.
Yeah, that was definitely a tough loss for us because he was one of our big guys at the bottom of the lineup who was getting on a lot for the top guys to be able to drive him in.
And he's actually one of my students. He's taking my
Yeah, oh,
History
nice,
101
nice.
class, a couple of other guys in that situation. Nick, still a chance for the playoffs. A really crucial series coming up. You know, an important series this weekend, but I'm looking ahead to Tarleton State, and I think that's going to determine your postseason future.
Yeah, that'll definitely be our biggest weekend of the season for sure. Because yeah, we're right on their tails, and we're going to try to steal at least 3, if not sweep them, and pretty much just solidify our spot.
I was definitely going to say, if you guys can take 3 out of 4
Yeah,
from
we
Tarleton,
And then if we have a good weekend as well this weekend against Cameron and stuff, that'll definitely get us in a good position for the following weekend.
Well, Nick, in conclusion here, if you had to say, if there's one thing that you hope people who come out and watch you guys would say about your team, what is the one adjective or adverb that you hope they use to describe your team?
So that we never give up, that we're always trying to compete. Like, even though there are some tough games out there, we're always trying our best. We're trying to do as much as we can to give ourselves that chance to win.
Well, Nick, if I had more time, I'd ask you who is the best Canadian pop singer. But since there are so many, it would take too long.
It's a tough one.
It would be a tough one. So, Nick, it's been a pleasure broadcasting your games. Thanks so much for being my guest.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
All right. Well, that is going to wrap up the interview portion of Sportslook. So what I'll do is I'll clear the set and I'll finish up with an overtime right now. Those of you who know me, you know that I'm a firm believer in gender equity. I'm very proud of the fact, for example, that my camera person on Camera One and my floor director are both females. And so after talking about guys that had graduated from Eastern New Mexico University last week and had gone on to be Division I basketball coaches, I thought to myself, have we ever had a person go from Eastern to become a female Division I basketball coach? Kind of. The head coach at Wake Forest University for women's basketball is Jen Hoover. She did not go to Eastern New Mexico University, but she's married to John Hoover, who not only went to Eastern, but he played basketball, and to make it even better, one of my former students. So yeah, we do have a connection. Well, that is going to wrap up in overtime, and that will wrap up an episode of Sportslook. I'd like to thank my guests, Colby Bagwell and Nick Ankerman. I'd like to thank Brandon and Ryan for that best of segment. I did have a floor crew directed by Ms. Katie. So for those aforementioned people, this is Doc Elder saying, so long. And I have Nick Ankerman from Eastern Greyhound Baseball.
It's not a